In this Lord of the Rings Rise to War video, I'm going to teach you how to have a completely overpowered account. And yes, I have done this on $3 spent. People don't believe me. They leave comments. They're like, you're a liar. And I'm like, no, seriously. I did this on $3. I'll talk at the end about what spending could get you. And look, if I was spending, I would want to make videos about showing you that. You'd want to see it. I'd want to show you. Only $3. I am sitting at 73,000 ring power per hour. And I even have like 9 tiles free where I could go and boost that a whole heck of a lot. My ranking for personal ring level is, 4th. My personal production is 6th. And this fellowship was basically not even top 10. And now we chase number 1. We now jump into that position. So yeah, in this video, I'm going to teach you how to do it all. Anyone can do this. You do have to spend some time, but you follow this exact sequence and you will get there. Shall we start? Hello, my friends, and welcome back. I'm Chisgule Gaming, and hopefully the intro has convinced you that I can help you get value and smash your enemies. That's my tagline, and if that's something you're into, smash the subscribe button. Do it now, because let me tell you, I have been making 1 or 2 videos a day about Lord of the Rings Rise to War and how you can absolutely crush it. You're not going to want to miss those videos. Now, if you want to jump to any part of this video, by the way, use the timestamps in the description to navigate to whichever part you're most interested in. My goal with this video is to make a definitive guide on how to play a season, giving you 4 really clear phases with really clear stages of growth in exactly what you should be doing, how you should be spending your ring points, and how to get to the position that I am in now. So let's kick this thing off. What are the 4 phases? They are expansion, economy, experience, and extermination of your freaking enemies. Look at that. I even got 4 E's, baby, some alliteration. So let's get started with the expansion phase. What is that? It's the very start of the game when you have no tiles to your name and you are in that crazy land grab to get a ton of growth. In the first 24 hours, you are going to have buffs that reduces your stamina cost, and you may not appreciate that now if you're new to the game, but it is such a big deal to cut your troop losses in half, which will be there, to cut your stamina cost in half. Oh my goodness. You need to go crazy in the first 24 hours, and if you want to restart to do that on a day where it's like a weekend or whenever you can actually go all in, that would be reasonable. You want to get as many resources per hour as you can. In other words, you want to get the maximum number of tiles that you can have, and you're going to be spending your stamina to do that. You're going to be completing your quests over here, your main chapter, in order to get more tiles, and you're also going to be applying ring points to get more tiles, and then you're going to go capture them. This stage is all about rapid growth. You don't necessarily have to build a fort yet to expand where you can reach, but we're just talking about getting as many tiles as you possibly can. You move to a tile to capture it, you march, and that's how you go and do that, okay? Now, when it comes to your ring points, this is pretty important. I think in the start of the game, there are a couple things that are really great to get. One of those is control. Control is going to make it so that you regenerate ability points faster, even though it doesn't list that. It's completely overpowered. I have a dedicated video walking through how that works. Card up in the top if you want to go check that video out. In addition, I also really like powerful sweeping at the start of the game. You do 10% more damage when you are battling against tiles that you're taking for the first time. Also, when you sweep mobs, which we'll talk about in a bit, you also do more damage. So powerful sweeping is super important to get. These points you will keep basically the entire time. At least I've kept them the entire time that I've been playing. And in addition, I mean, if you have the points for it, I really like experience. Boosting the experience you gain on your commanders is a big deal. And last, but probably most important, is dominance. This is so crucial. Dominance increases your territory limit. You want to have this boosted as fast as you can, whenever you can. This is arguably one of the most important places to put your points. Every time you can do it, you should do it, even at the cost of doing other things like, getting to max control. Do dominance first. This is your number 1. Get more tiles. That's what the expansion phase is all about. Now, you will rapidly kind of get into the next phase, which is economy. Economy is characterized by being chronically short on resources. You'll know when you've switched gears from like, I can do anything, I have all the resources I want, to, man, I am like unable to even train troops because I am so low on resources. Welcome to the economy phase of the game, okay? At this point, you need to start to use your ability points to be constantly gathering resources. And although you had some options in the expansion phase for how you might use those points, either you were going to gather or you were going to mock battle, at this point, you've got to go all in on gathering. You're desperate for resources. And you're going to start to get better and better tiles to improve your resource production because you will be at your tile limit. Okay, so the tile limit is shown over here, and you're going to start to remove lower level tiles, like certainly this level 1 land that does generate 200 resources per hour, in favor of higher level tiles that you'll want to go capture. I mean, this is giving 880 resources per hour. And yes, you do want to think a little bit about the balance of your resources, making sure that you're not like completely stacking one resource and out of all of the others. That would be fairly problematic. And at this stage of the game, economy, you might actually start to be building some forts in order to expand your reach. A fort is actually really simple to understand. If we get a look at the map over here and I zoom in a little bit, you can see these dotted lines and these little green fort icons show the area I can reach. Your marches can only walk within a radius of your city or a radius of a fort. So in order to get to new lands, you're going to have to start to build forts. You're going to want to do that to have access to more territories, including tiles you want to take, okay? So to build a fort is very simple. You take a tile that you have, you push the build button, and then you build a fort, and it's going to cost you some resources and some gold. But you're going to want to start to expand a little bit to get more tiles, to get access to more mobs to sweep, which we're not talking about just yet. And you're going to be deleting tiles as you go now in order to be able to get better and better tiles. And although you might be tempted to do a lot of sweeping, I don't think it's a great choice to sweep things that are too high level, because you are going to lose a lot of troops that you just don't have at this stage. You unless you're really flush with troops, which feels unlikely to me. Maybe you're not taking enough tiles if you're flush with troops, okay? You probably are not sweeping as much yet. You're probably doing just a lot of tile capture. The points that go into your ring that are really important for that is to start to shift 10 points into harvest. If you needed to, you could reset your ring, but honestly, like, I would hang on to max control. I would hang on to max experience, powerful sweeping maxed, probably even abundant power. I would keep that maxed, especially if you haven't spent money to get a commander that does focus damage like Gandalf. So probably just your additional points that you're starting to accumulate go into harvest. You max that out. You can get more resources, which you will be very grateful for because you're going to be so hungry for resources. One other way that you can get resources is just make sure that you're completing your Red Book of Westmarch. That will give you a really good chunk of resources. I mean, the later stage give like 2 million total resources or more. It gets really crazy with the resource gain in the Red Book. That's going to be really important as you build up your economy. The buildings that you're going to want to focus on are going to be really important. You want to be building 24/7. And unless you spent to get a third construction queue, you're going to want to make sure that during the day, you go in and you do the things that are faster to build. And overnight, you do the things that take like 9 or 10 hours. Okay, that way you don't have dead construction time. If you have 3 queues, you have a little more flexibility with having dead construction time. And your construction will still be focused primarily on getting your main chapter quests done so that you get more tiles, so that you can expand. This is all very, very important. I really like to focus on the military academy. Keep this thing max leveled so that you have more command stat on your commanders, which means you can bring more troops. And if you bring more troops, you can take harder things and you get better trades, which means you have less dead troops and less healing in your apothecary you need to do. Speaking of which, like, don't neglect your apothecary. this is going to be important, but you probably won't overflow your apothecary, and you shouldn't really be fighting other players at this point. It's way too early for battling other players, in my opinion. Like, you might have to, but it seems really unlikely. The production buildings here, I mean, I'm going to mention them. They're important, but your focus is going to be on the other stuff. You can catch up with your production buildings later. And one quick hack to keep in mind is that if you upgrade the sort of top buildings for the different troop types you can do, this also is giving you gold, and that is really important. So don't neglect those when you have the option to upgrade them. I think that is very worthy of doing. For giving you resources and gold, it's actually quite powerful. Now, your first week or two into the game have probably been very productive, and at this stage, you're going to enter into the third phase, the experience grinding phase. This is going to be characterized by being chronically out of stamina, and you're going to start this phase with a resource problem, and you're going to end this phase with that resource problem mostly solved. Now, at this point, you will have accumulated enough commanders that either by like getting really lucky with your coins that you use, right, to go and pull in the Matham Peddler, maybe you get lucky, or you're going in to the tavern over here, you're going to recruit commanders, and you're using the items that you're accumulating, both from the Peddler and also by doing your Red Book quests, to go in and unlock some of these commanders. You're making some choices. Now, if you're on the light side, the good side, I really like Dwalin, by the way. The dude is kind of a monster for taking tiles. I think he's really phenomenal. Consider Dwalin, card up in the top if you want to see my detailed guide on him, okay? But there are a lot of really great commanders over here that you can start to work with. But as you get more of these commanders, you're going to want to start to do lots of sweeping. This also means, by the way, your ring build will need to change, but sweeping is going to give you resources, speed ups, experience on your commanders, and experience to your fellowship. In fact, I can show you that if I go over here. All of those things come from sweeping. Now, the experience to your fellowship matters a lot. You level that thing up, and there's a ton of benefits. Also, experience to your commanders is a big deal, and these speed ups you're going to use a ton of in the extermination phase. Do not use your speed ups just for giggles, because you can. Save them for when you really need them, and I'm going to talk about what that time frame is, okay? So you're going to be doing a lot of sweeping. You're going to try to have the least number of troop deaths possible. If you're losing a lot of troops sweeping, you're sweeping mobs that are too high level. You do not have the right build. You do not have the right troop composition. You need to be taking tiles and losing troops doing that, not losing tons of troops sweeping. This is really important. Tiles and the reason I told you to focus on economy, not sweeping, is that you want to be taking things that give you permanent boosts to your economy, aka more resources per hour and ring power per hour. But once you can be taking the tiles you want to be taking and have enough troops in your roster to be sweeping at the same time, now we're in a good spot to be sweeping. See what I mean? Your highest level commander, where you get the least losses possible, should be going and taking new tiles, and all your other commanders, you use excess troops to sweep. That's the way I would swing that. And, you know, look, what do I mean by not losing too many troops and getting efficient trades, taking high-level tiles? What I mean by that is that if you have the option to take, like, this tile over, let's say, here, it's 150 ring power per hour, but you're going to lose, let's say, like, let's call it 500 troops die to take this tile. Or you could take a tile that's like, I don't know, 130 ring power per hour that you see over here, but you're only going to lose 100 troops. You should just stick to 130s. Do you see what I mean? Like, when given the option of slightly more ring power and resources, but a ton of dead troops, or a fraction of the dead troops, you want to lose the least amount of troops possible. At this stage, you're not going to have enough troops to do all the things you want to do. So yes, it is valuable to have one tile that is the highest level you can access to gather more resources from that tile. And I get that there's value to having some high-level tiles, as I've done here, okay? Don't get me wrong. But you want to focus on efficiency, using forts to expand your reach, to efficiently capture lots of tiles that really boost your economy a lot. That would be my recommendation. And all your other commanders are going to be sweeping. The sweeping build that I would recommend for you is going to be over here. It's this part of the tree. You want to, of course, continue to use powerful sweeping, but you're going to get effortless sweeping to reduce your stamina cost, Then the next priority is experience sweeping to give you 20% more experience. Then the next priority is focus sweeping to give you more resource gain. Yes, at this stage, you are still really struggling for resources, but as you capture more and more tiles, as you get higher and higher level tiles, as you complete more of your chapter quest, you will start to approach escape velocity on resources. And this is really exciting because up to this point, you are continuing to harvest to keep your resources in a reasonable place. But you will reach a point where you realize, wait a minute, I don't have to be harvesting right now. I have enough resources to do all the things I want to be doing. At that moment in time, you switch to doing a mock battling build. Now, look, you're not going to have all the ring points you need to do all the things you want to do. So you're going to have to make some choices. But at some point in this experience stage, okay, you still do sweeping, but I really like the idea of going in on efficiency to reduce your mock battle stamina cost and also to give yourself a mock battle stamina boost. And using, once you have enough resources, okay, all your ability points from that moment forward, not for resources, but instead to do mock battling. And then you are power leveling your commanders. And why does this matter? When you power level your commanders, let me tell you, even if you are free to play, if you battle somebody who is 15 levels lower than you, I mean, you are going to wreck them. Like, you can't pay your way to experience on your commanders like you can do with just a ton of grinding. And I'm not saying that there aren't things you can do if you're spending to, get edge. What I'm saying is, if spenders don't put in the time, you're going to still wreck them. And that's what I focused on doing. Power leveling a lot of commanders. I got Galadriel like 3 days ago. I got so lucky with a pull. I mean, I got a full unlock. It was nuts. And I'm going to make a video about her, okay? But in order to make a video about her, I have to use her. In order to use her, I have to level her up. Well, in like 3 days, I've gotten her to level 40. I used just tons of mock battling to level her up. I've got a dedicated video to this. I'll have a card up in the top. But at some point, you shift gears from I am sweeping all the time to, you know what? I'm still sweeping sometimes, but I got other stuff I need to be doing with my commanders. And I'm going to do a lot of mock battling, which costs you no troops, but does cost resources to level up commanders. The other thing that, of course, you're doing to level up commanders is completing tips. And one of the reasons that doing all of the sweeping was so important is that you will sometimes get tips like this one you see over here that gives 40,000 experience and 10,000 gold. It's insane. So sweeping not only puts experience on your commanders, it also gives you tavern tips that then gives you even more experience on your commanders, which is completely gangbuster. So keep that in mind. You start the experience phase sweeping. You end it by doing lots of mock battling and still some sweeping, of course. But now you're approaching the fourth phase, and you may already need to be fighting other players, but the fourth phase is all about extermination. This is about battling your enemies and winning. And the extermination phase is going to happen whether or not you're ready. The extermination phase is going to happen for your server once all of the territories that were open and nobody owned have been captured, and all that's left to do is battle other players. Like it or not, there will be battling of other players. And once you're approaching the phase of the season, in season 1 anyways, where the ring can be captured, like, yeah, people are going to fight for contention of that. So at some point, whether or not you're ready for it, your focus is going to need to shift to be on battling other players. That is extermination, okay? And in the extermination phase, by this point, hopefully you have already achieved escape velocity on resources. Like, I can't lose troops fast enough. I really can't. And I can't train them fast enough to actually run out of resources. It's not possible. I have achieved escape velocity on resources. Hopefully by this point in your progression, you will have as well by the time you need to do a lot of fighting. And when you're fighting other players, this is really characterized by your apothecary, your hospital, overflowing. This becomes the problem. You will not be able to clear your hospital fast enough, and you will be so thankful that you saved your speed ups for when you actually are fighting other players, and you rapidly need to clear out your hospital. Otherwise, if you don't have room, troops that would have been savable instead just die. They're lost forever, okay? The majority of your stamina now is going to battling other players, and for your lowest level commanders, you are power leveling them with mock battling, okay? You can sweep a little bit, but probably not, because you should be spending your stamina fighting because your team needs you fighting. And honestly, the majority of your troops are just going to fight. That's where the action is, okay? As far as your ring points go, once you're at this stage of the game, I found it really helpful to have things that give me extra movement speed. I found that I needed extra forts, so I started to pick up battle lines. And also, when I woke up in the morning, it was like a day of fighting. So I needed more maximum stamina to do more things. Now, if you can't actively play the game as much, still boosting the stamina here is really good because it means that when you can play, you have 1.5 more actions roughly that you can do, which, like, look, it's going to matter a lot. Also, Fortress makes your forts a lot tougher. This is really important too. So this part of the tree, giving you movement, max stamina, more forts, all this becomes really important toward this portion of the game, extermination of your enemies. Literally, the critical path at this moment in time, depending on how active you're playing, is going to be your ability to speed up your apothecary. So in my opinion, save your universal speed ups to heal out the apothecary. Use your healing speed ups at this point when you need to heal your apothecary in order to refill your armies and actually fight effectively. That's what the speed ups are for. And hopefully, you are having a great season where your team has got a lot of territory. I'm playing Erebor. We've done really well. Sure, we don't have the ring, but we went from being not even in the top 10 to being one of the top fellowships on our server. And how did that happen? I'll cover that very briefly and then talk about the advantage Spender has. The secret to building a killer fellowship, and it's not all that secret, okay? Step 1, you gotta have a Discord server where people talk outside of game. I get that in-game is good, but out of game is way, 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 way better for coordinating. I mean, Discord is designed for people to coordinate around things, and it's easy to chat, and you can have Discord up and the game up if you have 2 devices or you're playing on your computer and you're using like an emulator. Just keep that in mind. Discord, it's such a strong signal that your group is massively disorganized if you don't have a Discord. I'm just going to say, like, there's just a very high correlation to we are coordinated and we have a Discord. Now, just because you have a Discord doesn't mean you're coordinated, but it's a step in the right direction. You should have very clear officers that are all actively playing. At the start of the game, the leader of our fellowship literally went inactive. And because I was an officer of the fellowship, after 8 days elapsed, it automatically passed to me, which was really important. Thank God. But like, even it's such a disaster. I can't believe they went inactive. What a disaster. They went inactive without passing leader. And speaking of inactive, like, you should be kicking players from your fellowship if they are inactive for more than 2 days. Like, they can reapply. You need room in your fellowship for active players because active players push the level of your fellowship up by virtue of actually sweeping and doing other things, which, by the way, means you get more forts. And more forts are really important for getting things done, which is the next point for having a killer fellowship. Every day at a certain time, whatever that time is for your fellowship, you should always get an objective done. Every single day, your fellowship leaders should pick a thing that you're going to do by a certain time. And people should be expected to either build their way toward that thing over the course of the 24 hours that elapse between your sort of active time every day, or they should be building an alliance fort so that you can then put your fort nearby without having to make a whole chain of forts to get to where you're going, okay? But if your fellowship is not doing those things, you know it's not all that organized. And by the way, I am probably going to, in fact, I almost certainly at this point, am going to do a restart where we go in and make an insane fellowship, like absolutely insane. In fact, we're going to need like 3 to 5 fellowships. We're going to fill out a faction. Like, it's going to be nuts. We're going to just, ideally just destroy our server or have so much fun fighting that it doesn't even matter, okay? And I say destroy our server, but like, it's a war game, okay? We're going to play and we're going to go nuts. And then servers merge anyways later with, I think, people of like, equal sort of, play style or aggressiveness, or I don't know, they merge the servers at some point. So I'm not trying to make people quit the game. I'm just saying we're going to go aggressive, all right? We're going to fight. It's going to be fun. If that's something you want to join in on, links in the description, discord.gg/Chisgule. That's my Discord server. And there'll be information in there about where to go if you want to participate in that restart, okay? The final thing I'm going to talk about is just spending in the game, which can give you a huge advantage, but it doesn't make up for lack of activity. Spending in the game affords you better equipment. It affords you higher loyalty on commanders. It affords you more commanders. It affords you the gems to be making sure you can always maximum refresh your tavern tips. It affords you the gems to do resource production boosts, or even to buy stamina potions. There's a bunch of things you can get. And those advantages are solid. But I think the balance in this game of free-to-play and spending so far feels pretty reasonable. I mean, look, $3 spent, I've got a pretty sick roster. I can do most of what I want to do. I'm feeling pretty good about it. I feel like the free-to-play balance in this game is pretty solid. You can't speed up training new troops, and that is a great equalizer in this game. If you found this video helpful, or you've got other thoughts about the sort of 4 phases that I presented, where you go from expansion to economy to experience to extermination, definitely let me know your thoughts down below in the comments. I think this guide is probably going to be my most comprehensive guide that I've created. And if you're looking for just serious beginner level mechanics of how to play the game, then check out the card. Actually, it'll be up in the top to take you to my beginner guide. You're like, Chisgule, I don't know how to play this game. You're talking about all these things. I don't even know what they are. The beginner guide will give you all the details you need. Check it out. And until next time, you have fun smashing your enemies, and leave a comment with your thoughts on this guide.